Hello, my name is David Hopper and we are here with Team Performance Coaching, and this is part of our leadership series. I'm here with Scott Shuford, and Scott, let's start off with what you do.
Sure. Well, I am coming up on 20 years having founded Frontgate Media, and Frontgate is the largest marketing agency and media group reaching the faith and family audience.
That sounds fascinating, so let's jump into that right there. What is the faith and family audience?
Well, the faith-based market is a giant niche, if you will. So the most closest comparison I can give is it's like an ethnic market, like the African American community or the Latinx community, except it's unified by faith. So within the faith-based market, that's one separate, whole different market that you need to communicate with its own language, its own nuances, its own audience quirks and likes and dislikes. And so it's similar in some ways to the ethnic audiences, although obviously Christianity and Christians are not specifically one ethnicity. So there's actually a lot of sub-markets within the Christian market, but overall, what unifies the audience is their faith.
Right, okay. And so how big is that audience?
Wow, that's a great question. I haven't caught my latest stat number to see, but it's one of the largest niche markets that's considered niche without being mainstream. So,
and I was reading something that said that you are reaching 10 million. Is that part of 10? How do you measure that?
Right. So we actually have two divisions. We have a full service agency that does everything you can do in marketing. So public relations, social marketing, strategy development, creative work, media buying across all the formats. And then we have a second division that is a media group. It's a web and event network. And that is where we reach about 10 million Christians a month through our online properties. And then we've got somewhere over 20 million email subscribers across all the different lists in our group.
And then some of this advertising, what are the big wins? Those big, was it movies? Where did you kind of see your market used the best?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing now that we're 20 years down the road. At one point it was an idea, and now we look backwards and we can really see how it developed, what worked and didn't work. So what ended up being the best part of the idea was specializing in delivering the audience and not in working for any one industry. So most agencies, if you're in the marketing world, they kind of concentrate on a couple of different verticals, and that's what they do.
Right.
But because we specialized in delivering an audience, we've actually worked in all of the different industry verticals. So anybody who wants to reach Christians, we're a great candidate for them. So as a result, over time, the different industries have changed of what's kind of what I would consider our most successful clients or our biggest segment of the market space. So like right now, the best part of the market is the nonprofit community, the movie community, and the entrepreneurial community, people that are launching brand new things. In past history, I would have said music was a big part of our makeup, but the music industry kind of dried itself up, not just the Christian music world, but all of the music world. Because if you take a $16.99 product and make it 99 cents, it's over.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what industry that is. So over the last 20 years, it's shifted, and what we've always done kind of the same mix of things, but the amount of those things has changed over time.
Okay, so if someone is trying to reach the Christian audience, they would come to you, and then they would use you, and then you give them a platform of ways to reach that audience?
Exactly.
Or do you literally take their product and you deliver it through your systems?
We would create the strategy to market them and then get that message out across all the different distribution channels. I like to say, we would start with the concept up at the top. It's kind of like the cloud cover, right? And then we figure out what that messaging is going to be. And then we rain it down through each of the distribution channels, whether that's social or public relations, or straight up advertising in all the different ways you could do it. Radio, TV, some print, a lot of digital.
So being in the Christian world for the last 25 years, I would say that has to be a particularly hard group to reach, because there are people that are super conservative and then there are super liberal, and they both call themselves Christian. how would advertising, how do you reach both of those targets? It seems almost impossible.
Well, and you don't. That's part of what most people don't understand about the market is the additional layer of segmentation. Because if you want the African American Christian, you're going to get a different campaign going than if you want to reach moms, Christian moms in general. So there's a lot of different subsegments, and you won't reach the conservative and liberal Christian at the same time unless you're just reaching Christian women. And then it doesn't matter if they're liberal or conservative or some other classification. It doesn't matter if they're charismatic or non-charismatic. Are they denominational or are they Catholic? The Catholic community is a whole nother subgroup within the Christian market. So part of it is just educating the client when they walk in the door and say, we want to reach Christians. My first question, so you want a 13-year-old girl and a 65-year-old man, right? And they're like, no. Okay, well, let's talk some more about this then, because that's what you just told me.
Okay, so you're filtering down to the exact target they're trying to reach.
Right. We want to get as detailed in creating that target audience persona or personas that are going to be a fit for their product. So when we're or service for that matter, but so when we worked on a Christian cryptocurrency last year. That's a very entrepreneurial thing, right? Cryptocurrency by itself is new. So to have a Christian cryptocurrency is even more, out of the ordinary. But we had to work with them to put together their core messaging and help them package up what they were doing in order to even have a shot at introducing it. So that's one really extreme example of an entrepreneurial thing.
Let's do a larger example. So let's say we have a Christian movie and we want to get it out to a young families. So what are going to be the best delivery methods? The reason I'm asking the question is I feel like the market, the delivery has changed. It's moved from maybe TV commercials from radio to now almost like YouTube, podcasts, all this other kind of like different ways that are reaching people. So how has the market shifted in which the delivery method is shifted?
Well, the film market is actually one of the most kind of templated marketplaces to go to now, because ever since the Passion, we worked on the Passion of the Christ way back in the day, and that was kind of the first big film that pioneered a different way to do it. And once that was done, then the template got set, and it's been refined ever since. But that there's still kind of a way to do that. So a film project is going to have probably 3 to 5 core target audiences, which may or may not all be faith-based. So the faith-based category may just be one part. If it's a sports movie, you could have a faith-based component and a sports component. So there is so much that goes into marketing a film, between the PR angle and side, the social side. Obviously, working on podcast world, that's going to fall under a combination of what's going on in social and what's going on in PR, and then it'll spill over into the church outreach side, because a lot of the podcasts are tied directly to pastors.
Right.
So at the end of the day, a movie campaign is going to be one of the biggest things you can work on.
Yeah, maybe that's too big. Let me ask this way. What would be the best way for maybe a startup church if they wanted to hire you and you're saying, okay, spend your limited dollars in these avenues to reach people right now?
What we typically will do for a startup that's not got a national launch budget, they're not talking about a 6-figure marketing campaign. Right. And particularly for churches, a church is generally a very local or at most regional organization. So I really like the social targeting environment, being able to have a strategic campaign that involves advertising and content that's specific and delivered through Facebook and Instagram, and with the goal of building an email list that church can then use to repeatedly market to that audience over and over and over again. So we want to get them in the door, whether that means the physical door or get their email address or get their like on Facebook, and then we want to keep connecting with that person to hopefully warm them up to the church.
So your first dollars are spent in capturing something that you can follow up with later. Okay, so say it's a new YouTube site. So a YouTube site wants to do they wish for a national audience. How should they be spending their money in the advertising world?
Well, and so if you want YouTube followers, then you spend your money in YouTube. Right? There's really, until you've exhausted the YouTube following, which is probably not possible.
Right.
But let's just say you could. Until you exhaust finding your right audience in YouTube, there's no reason to go get it somewhere else, because now you have to get them to YouTube, right? And now if there's an opportunity that presents itself, great, take it, right? Like if somebody at that organization is speaking on the road, well, then you have a natural built-in marketing vehicle there to drive people to YouTube, and you don't have to advertise in YouTube, right?
Right.
But I wouldn't put someone on the road just to build my YouTube channel, right?
Interesting. Okay. And then someone that's trying to brand themselves, are they just using all avenues?
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things. It's interesting. This type of conversation keeps coming up for me. And I think it's one of the biggest needs in the church. Everybody who is speaking wants to do more speaking, and they want to create a revenue stream from that speaking. And yet, there's really nowhere you can go in Christendom and just plug yourself in to an organization that will help you get speaking gigs all over the country.
Right.
I mean, until you're, the A-lister level,
Right.
then you can find somebody that will plug you in and do what you want to do. But if you're starting out, you really don't have a lot of help. There's not, and frankly, I don't think there's a lot of organizations that could help, because speaking, like having a church, is very regional. At least it should be when you start.
Yeah.
When I teach on marketing to music artists and authors and pastors, I try to describe the concentric circle model. So if you're in Southern California, where we are today, why do you want to be in Chicago? Now, Chicago's far away. It's a great city. I like to eat there. So there's reasons I might want to be in Chicago. But to get from Orange County to Chicago on a regular basis is going to take a lot of time and money. So if I'm going to develop a fan base in Chicago, I got to be sure there's really a good reason to do that if I haven't already built my fan base in Orange County. And if I do want to build a fan base in Chicago, how am I going to do that if I don't even own Orange County? Like, if I don't own my city or my county or my tri-county area, why would anybody else care? So I think when you're trying to develop a kind of a speaking ministry, or even if you're just a professional coach in some way, whether it's nonprofit or for-profit, you really have to start in your local area and then build your base right there. And then it's easy for you to get back and forth with your fans, with the people that you're speaking in front of. It's easy to network. It'd be much better to own Orange County and then go to LA and then go to San Diego than it would be to develop a pocket here in Orange County and a pocket in Dallas and a pocket in Chicago.
Yes, that makes sense. But if someone wants to brand, they're trying to do that, they're trying to follow that method, why do they hire you, and how do you get them to more eyes?
The first thing we do is give them the materials, create the materials for them to have a speaker's kit. Because a lot of times they haven't thought through, how would I present myself? And that's a learning curve thing. That's something that I guess you could look it up. You could just Google it, but most people don't stop and think about saying, what do I need to do to speak places, right? We'll create a speaker's kit with their bio and any accolades and letters of endorsement and the speaker's video. A lot of people that want to speak don't realize that if you don't have a super good quality speaking video, why is anybody going to hire you?
Right.
So they have a choppy, bad quality cell phone video up on their website,
right, that
does them an absolute disservice. So, we look to correct the things in the process for them that they haven't maybe thought of yet, or that they have thought of and aren't set up to succeed. And that would be where we would start.
And then what's the second step?
Second step is really
not to give away all your secrets.
No. I mean, well, it's one thing to know to have the experience to know the process and the formula.
Yeah.
It's a whole other thing to actually do it. So there isn't really anything to give away, because these are not rocket science things. You don't have to go get a degree in in marketing, frankly.
Right.
Doesn't hurt. But you don't have to go get a degree in marketing to understand that in order to present yourself to people, there's some things you got to do.
Right.
Your second step with somebody is actually to suggest to them, at least right now, you need to hire somebody, half-time, part-time, full-time, whatever, that they have no other purpose but to pitch you to speak. So they're going to take that kit and they're going to know Orange County because they live in it. Or if you're in Dallas, then they're going to know Dallas. And they're going to go network with all the right places. They're going to find the churches that you want to speak at. They're going to find the associations and the Rotary clubs and the whatever else there is, the conferences and events. And they're going to go meet those people and present you to them. And that's really the hard work of the process. And I think it's hard for an outside company to do that.
So what I'm hearing is it's not necessarily that you're going to build your YouTube site, your website, all these things and hope that someone finds you. You have to actually do the legwork or hire the legwork that's going to go out and pitch all this stuff for you.
In most cases, that's right. Yeah, in most cases, it's not going to just passively happen. There are situations where stuff just comes together, right?
Yeah.
That certainly is possible, but you can't rely on that. You can't just kind of, I'll put it there and then hope people show up, right? Field of Dreams was a great film. It's not a good organizational philosophy.
That's really interesting because I think that the market that is out there wanting to be the next thing all thinks if they just get themselves out there on a YouTube or whatever, but they get themselves out there, they're just magically going to be seen.
Yeah, and that's a very common thought.
Yeah.
In all of the creative industries, if you will. So if you're a speaker, an author, a musician, a movie maker, a filmmaker, whatever that is, you tend to have your passion for the art and figure that if you just do your art great, it'll make it happen.
Right.
And that's not terribly accurate.
In fact, I would say one of the takeaways is how are you marketing whatever it is you're trying to get out there? How do I put this? What do you think is the right way to say this?
Well, you really have to put two things together. A lot of people talk about having passion for what they're going to do. You also have to pursue excellence in what you do. So you have to both be talented and good at it and passionate to do it. And we've all seen people who are really good at what they do, but maybe they're not passionate about it. There's a lot of unhappy doctors and lawyers out there who are great at what they do, but it really wasn't their passion. Mm-hmm. And we've all watched American Idol or some of these other reality TV shows, and we've seen people who have a ton of passion and absolutely no talent, right? Those are the best parts of the show. Yeah. So you really want to find that zone where you can have a balance of those two things and then move that direction. Then it's a matter of figuring out what individual tasks you like to do and don't like to do. And then you do the ones you're good at and like, and then you hire someone else or get a volunteer to do the parts you don't.
I love that. And so let me back up. One other thing is the Christian market. So we hit it a couple times with the Christian market, and the Christian market continues to shift, right? Where do you think it is today? If you're trying to reach the Christian market, it's obviously shifted pretty dramatically, especially in the political climate that we're in. Where is it today?
So what's really shifting is the infrastructure side of the world. The market, to the degree that we're talking about audience, hasn't shifted a ton. It has shifted. There's a big generational shift happening, but there's a big difference, and I like to talk to my client base about the difference between the Christian market and Christianity. So the Christian market is something you can nail down, define a target audience and a pathway and go get it, right? Christianity is a lot more fluid, and it's very difficult to define the church if you're talking about the whole church, right? So what's going on right now in the church, which is where we should start because that's what affects the market, right?
Mhm.
Is we're seeing a big generational shift. So the older part of the audience is kind of moving into the twilight years, and the younger side of the audience, and if you split it in half, let's say just for fun, is approaching the church differently. They're approaching
Right.
their version of Christianity differently. So that creates market opportunity, but it isn't the market, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So I think that's the big challenge right now is we're seeing both, we're seeing several trends all converge at the same time. We're seeing the generational shift where the denominations are out. Now the non-denominational churches are kind of out. And what's in?
Right.
I don't know yet.
That's my question. Is it's shifting dramatically, but I can't tell who's in.
Right, and we're still in the shift. So it's really easy to look backwards and go, oh, look, that happened.
Right.
Once it's over, but it's really hard to tell when you're going through it at the time. So we're seeing the generational issue right now. We're seeing the technology issue. You have people that, kids that have grown up and never what's the word? They are so familiar with the technology that if there's a screen in front of them that's not a touch screen, they think it's broken.
Yeah.
Because everything they've ever touched has moved.
It's like when your kids put their hand under the paper towels going, why is this not working? Not realizing it's still a switch.
Yep.
That's so funny to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of technological shift going on. And the people that are not staying current with the technology are being left behind. So in my case, the marketer's job just gets more and more complicated because most of the old things don't go away, and the new things come in, and there's no new budget for that.
Right.
So when marketing, let's call it the 50s, Mad Men, right? Everybody's heard of the Mad Men TV show, I hope.
Yeah.
But Mad Men, what do? You got radio, print, and TV. You're done. That's your job as a marketer. You're finished. And there's billboards, there's a couple other things, but pretty much it's radio, TV, and print. And then along comes this thing called the internet. Oh, we got banner ads now. We got to do banner ads. So we got radio, TV, and print, and banner ads, right? And then this thing called email popped up. Oh, we can send a whole email. It's kind of like print, but it's not really print. It's a different format, but it's similar.
Right.
Okay, well then we got to do that. So now we got radio and TV and print and banners and emails. Oh, and then you can throw out an email newsletter too. Oh,
Right.
Look, now the emails are in HTML with pretty pictures. They're not just text.
Right.
So, boom, boom, boom. Fast forward to today. Now we have social media. Not one social media. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have Pinterest, we got Twitter, we got YouTube.
Yeah.
Now we have podcasts. All right, we got a whole nother medium.
Right.
Right. So we keep coming. Texting, we got a whole other category. So for the marketer, their platform choices keep getting bigger and bigger. And for each one of those things, there's specialties to it, right?
Is that good or bad that we have so many?
Well, from the marketer's point of view, it's hard.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good or bad is the right term, right? It fragments your audience depending on who you're trying to reach. So, if I want to reach 60-year-olds, I probably don't have to pay a lot of attention to podcasts.
So you have to know who you're trying to reach better than you used to. Because before you could just shotgun the whole thing, but now you have to sniper each place you're trying to reach.
The bigger your potential audience, the more ways there are to reach them.
Yeah.
So it's if you're going to advertise to your audience, where is your audience hanging out? Are they watching Ellen Digital? Not Ellen the TV show,
Right,
because
exactly.
nobody has TV anymore now. They all cut their cable, right?
Right.
So are you now all of a sudden advertising on Fail Army to reach guys?
Right.
It's probably a better choice than some of the old, opportunities that you got to do GQ's website when you can do Fail Army. I don't know. That may not be equitable audiences, but you get the idea. It's now you're choosing between so many different choices. How do you make your choice?
Okay, so a couple of things if I'm just using some takeaways. First is know your audience, know who you're trying to reach. Second is it's not going to magically just come to you. You got to put in the work. You got to go out and actually market yourself, right?
Yeah. or you have to have someone do it for you.
Right.
Someone has to own that role.
That makes a lot of sense. So if you have the money, hire that person, hire your company, stuff like that to do that. What's the third thing that they've got to know before we end this thing?
Embrace the learning curve. I can't tell you how many people come in the door and I start to talk to them about their project. Now, I only need about 15 minutes with somebody, because if I know who they want to reach, when they want it to happen, and what their budget is, I'm good. The other 30 minutes of the conversation is to let them be comfortable with me. So in that 30 minutes beyond what I need to know, when they share something like, I tried that once and it didn't work.
Yeah.
I hear that all day long. So if you've tried something once and it didn't work, I can tell you right now, it was you.
Right.
Okay? Because if you did it once and you weren't perfect,
Yeah.
which you weren't, then it was you. So I love when people, well, I don't know if love is the right word, but I smirk a little when people tell me, oh, I don't believe in email. I've done YouTube videos, and
I feel like you're describing my life and who I've worked with, and then what they've said to me, and I'm like, so frustrated.
Well, and as a marketer, a big part of my work is to help the client where they are. I want to help every person move forward in their learning curve, wherever they are in the process.
Yeah.
And so if they bring in, hey, we don't like email. Well, I'm not going to spend all my time trying to talk them into email and convincing them of all the statistical data that is out there in the market.
Right.
Because if they've decided email doesn't work for them, then it ain't going to work for them.
So when you say embrace, who's embracing this curve?
So as a person responsible for their own brand,
yeah,
and their own marketing, whether they're doing it themselves or they're hiring people to do it for them, you have to take a long tail approach. You have to look at it's over the course of your career, not the one song, not the one book, not the one launch of your ministry.
Yes, okay.
So that's the learning curve that has to be embraced. If you're going to try email, trying email, it does not mean you did it once.
Right.
That was you didn't even barely get started.
Right.
You have to look at it over the course of 6 months of consistently doing email before you got a shot at being good at email.
That's good, man. It's really good. I appreciate you, Scott. I could talk about this particular subject for a very long time. It works in almost any business, any world. The Christian world especially is so unique, and I appreciate that you're out there doing it. So this has been Team Performance Coaching. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.